Okay, so if you're using the statistics calculator to do your calculations in this class, I think that's great. This is a really nice way of saving a lot of money, especially if this is a terminal math class that you don't need anything beyond this particular course. So the idea here is that the stats calculator will do everything that the TI calculators will do and often more, but knowing how to find help is a little bit difficult, so this video here is designed to give you a way of knowing how to get around. Now, for section 1.5, we need to know how to work with lists, how to find the mean, median, and mode of a set of data, and how to come up with some weighted statistics. So let's start with working with lists of data. Now, the concept of a list in the calculator is the same concept of a set of numbers in mathematics. We're just working with groups of data at a single time. So clearly, if you were to use this little box right here to do all of your statistics and calculations, it wouldn't be great. So for instance, like you could get a mean of this data set over here that you see to the left by adding them all together, typing them in one by one and so forth, and then dividing by the number of data items that exist, which I don't know how many are sitting there. You could get a mean that way, but it's not going to be very pretty and very prone to error. And aside from that, you would have to type in the data set every single time that you need to use it. So the main thing that you'll use in this calculator for this chapter is the list editor. So just click on the list editor, it'll take you right in. Now, this is designed to look and operate kind of like a spreadsheet. Depending on your browser, these boxes might line up better, they might not line up all that well. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference as long as you can type into each one of them separately. Now, you have 3 lists by default named L1, L2, and L3, just to kind of mimic what's in the calculator. Generally speaking, you'd only ever really need L1 and L2 for most situations, and if you need to type in data, you just simply key values into the boxes. And if you tab after each item, it will take you down to the next box. So that makes it easy to punch in a long set of numbers fairly quickly. Now, after you type it in, double check that you made sure to type in the data properly, and if so, you're all set. Now, sometimes you might get into the situation where you have more data in a list than what can be shown here. There are some scrolling items down through here. Don't use the zoom because that will mess things up quite a bit, I think. But if you do the panning here, that's pretty helpful. Just like hit down, and there's more boxes down this way. There are a limit. I think there's like 50 or so. So that allows you to see more boxes and input more data into a list. And of course, you can just scroll back up to the top when you're done. If you have data in a list and you don't want to use it any longer, then you can just clear an entire list, either by highlighting each data item and deleting it, or by pressing the clear button over here, which will just delete all the list data at once. Also, there's this apply formula thing. This is something you'll probably not need to use, but like if you typed in your data in L1, but you wanted the data in L2 to just be like twice as many of each of those items minus 4 for some reason, then you could do this. Oh, maybe you need equals here first. Oh, right, so L1, sorry, L2 is where we want to store the data, and that's equal to the data in L1 times 2 minus 4. There we go. All right, so like I said, it's not something I use very often, so it's probably something you won't use really ever at all. So, but it's there in case you're interested. So let me just clear out the stuff in L2 there. All right, now, calculations. How do we do calculations based off of data that we put here? Well, go back to the calc area, and the types of calculations that you have in the calculator, the TI that is, for this class are pretty much right here, all you really need. So single var statistics, so that's one var stats in the TI calculator. Later on, we'll learn about linear regression and some of these other ideas here. For right now, it's really just single variable statistics. If you click this button, it'll put the name of the function into the box here. Just like in the calculator, it puts the name of the function onto the home screen. And then it waits for you to tell which list contains the data you want to do this function on. So we put our data in L1, say that, just type it in and then close parentheses. You can hit calculate or press enter, and it will come up with the same results as the TI calculator. So X bar is the mean of your data set. S and sigma are standard deviations. We'll talk about those later. Sigma X is the sum of your data. So if you wanted to add all your data together, you would get 356. Not used much in this class, but it's there if you want it. And then later on, we have a minimum, maximum. Q1 and Q3 we'll discuss later. And then a median. So the median here is given as 28.5. So we have the mean and the median of our data. Now what about the mode? It doesn't show us the mode. And well, that's actually kind of purposeful because the mode is really supposed to be restricted to qualitative data. And these calculators aren't really meant to work with qualitative values. So instead, we don't calculate the mode. We just let students go through and scan and find the one that occurs the most. So if you just look through your data, 29 looks like it appears twice. There's a 12, there's a 12. So it looks like it's bimodal with the modes being 12 and 29. So that's what you would have to do there. Okay, now next up, calculating a weighted mean. So the stats calculator does a weighted mean pretty much in the same way that the TI does. You have to put your data into a list. So just go back to the list editor and I'll clear out the stuff in L1. So L1 is where you would put the midpoints of your frequency distribution. L2 is where you would put the frequencies. So the frequencies, clearly, very straightforward. You just type in those numbers as they appear, and you're all set. The midpoints, however, you might have to go up to the side and calculate the midpoints, or what you can do is just understand that all of these boxes in the stats calculator are like little calculators themselves. So, for instance, the midpoint of the first class, you take the lower class limit plus the upper class limit and divide by 2. So 0 plus 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Okay, that's fine. But the next one, 16 and 31 divided by 2. Maybe you don't know that one off the top of your head so well. Well, you can just type in 16 plus 31 divided by 2. And that's perfectly fine. So the stats calculator, what it's going to do is it's going to see that as a calculation, and it's going to perform that calculation whenever you need to reference that list of data. Exactly in the same way that Excel would do, okay? It won't calculate on the fly like as you type it into the box, but it will later on. So we'll just do then 32 plus 47 divided by 2, 48 plus 63 divided by 2, and then 64 and 79 divided by 2. So that looks weird, I know, but like I said, it won't use this string of text to do its calculation. It will make the calculation and then use the answer in the next step. So let me show you. All right, so go back to the home screen. And again, we're doing one var stats. So let's just clear everything and hit single var stats. This time we have our data values in L1 and the frequency with which those occur in L2. So just like in the calculator, you type in L1, L2. Then press enter and it goes through and it makes the weighted statistics. So if you'll notice, it made calculations of all those midpoints and used those values, and otherwise it would have given you a whole bunch of weird errors here because it wouldn't know what to do with like treating a parentheses like a number. So it's pretty cool how that works. Okay, so the one thing you might run into is when you're doing the one-var stats, putting in your midpoints, but just forgetting to do the comma L2. That's fairly common. So here's the catch. All right, so look at the mean so far. It's 52.9, okay? That was based off of 246 pieces of data in that calculation. That should be equal to the sum of your frequencies. You don't have to do this exactly, but if you look through here, it looks about right, okay? That would be around 250 data items. If you forget the L2 and calculate, it will do the calculation based off of only the items in L1. And there's only 5 items that sit there. So that N at the very top is telling you, hey, by the way, check to see if the number of data items used in the calculation is about right. If it's not, check how you did the calculation. And you can see from the get-go that the frequency of the first class, which is the smallest frequency overall, is 6, and that's more than 5. So there's no way that the sum of those frequencies would be 5. So just use that as a check, and that can help you out of some bad situations there.